The church always talks about loving one another, but why do you rarely feel love in the church? Many people no longer believe in God because they do not experience love in church, but rather many hurts and many uncivilized things. We need to understand there are words in the Bible that are God's promises, and there are words that are God's demands. What does that mean? God's promises are things that God promises, and you will experience God's promises in your practical life if you persist in seeking God. For example, Isaiah 53:5, but he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The punishment for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. Here you have peace and healings. It's the promise of God. If you really believe God's word, you will experience peace and healing in your practical life. God's request is not a promise. It is God's desire for us to do what he says, and it is not God's business to do or not to do, but ours. You may or may not do it. John 15:12, you shall love one another as I have loved you, and this is my command. This statement is God's demand that believers love one another, not God's promise to us, because love one another is not one of God's own promises. Many times we do not experience love one another in church and are lucky not to experience harm. So don't think that this is God's fault just because you don't experience love in church. This is not God's unfaithfulness, but man's unfaithfulness, and man's failure to keep God's word. Further, you have to grasp the part of God's promises to experience this God, and you will not be disappointed. If you grasp God's requirements for man to experience God, 90% of the time you will be very disappointed. In the next video, we will talk about why most Christians are not capable of loving. Thank you for watching.